What happens when royal entitlement collides with morning show grace, live, in front of millions? Good morning. America is known for comfort, coffee, and calm, not confrontations. But on this day, Prince Harry walked into the Times Square studio, not as a humble guest, but as a man convinced the world owed him something. Robin Roberts came prepared with fair, measured questions. George Stephanopoulos and Michael Strahan stood by, ready to keep things light. Instead, they watched a simple interview slowly turn into a powder keg, until Robin finally decided she'd had enough. The Good Morning America studio buzzed with its usual organized chaos. Floor managers held clipboards, camera operators adjusted angles. Stage hands swapped out mugs and cue cards during the last seconds of commercial. The screens behind the main desk glowed with the New York skyline, sunrise melting into soft golds and blues. On the main couch sat Robin Roberts, posture poised, expression calm but focused. Beside her, George Stephanopoulos checked his notes with that familiar quiet intensity, and Michael Strahan adjusted his jacket, flashing his easy grin toward the audience. 30 seconds, a producer called out from behind the cameras. We're coming back with Prince Harry. Let's keep it tight, guys. Robin exhaled slowly and glanced across the small coffee table at the man seated opposite her. Prince Harry lounged back in his chair, one ankle resting over his knee, his hands clasped loosely. He wore a black suit over an open-collar shirt. What stood out wasn't his clothes, it was his face. His jaw was set. His eyes were already hard. "Everything good, Harry?" Michael asked with a friendly nod, trying to cut through the tension. "Need water, coffee, anything?" Harry didn't smile. "I'll survive," he said flatly. "Let's just get this over with." George's brows lifted almost imperceptibly. Robin didn't react. She'd interviewed presidents, survivors, families in grief. A tense royal was not going to rattle her. At least, that's what she told herself. 10 seconds, the floor manager called. "Everybody ready." The audience, lined up on raised risers, leaned forward with excitement. Phones were tucked away, but anticipation sparkled in their eyes. This was Prince Harry, modern, controversial, endlessly discussed. They expected insight, maybe vulnerability, maybe charm. They had no idea what they were about to get. The theme music swelled, the red light blinked on. "And we are back," Robin said smoothly, voice warm and steady. "We're here with Prince Harry, joining us live in studio this morning to talk about his new projects, his life here in the United States, and what comes next for him and his family. Harry, good morning. Thank you for being here." Harry gave a small nod, lips tightening. "Morning," he replied. "I suppose the world wants another piece of me, so here we are." A strange ripple moved through the audience. Some chuckled uncertainly, others exchanged glances. Robin's smile didn't falter, but she felt the edge in his words like a draft. "Well," she said gently, "we appreciate your time. You've been in the public eye your entire life, and lately you've been very outspoken about your experiences with the royal family, the media, and your personal journey. Let's start with something simple. How are you doing today, really?" Harry gave a short, humorless laugh. "You Americans love that question, don't you?" he said. "How are you?" As if anyone cares about the honest answer. Michael shifted in his seat. George glanced up from his notes. Robin kept her tone even. "Here, we actually do care," she replied. "Our viewers connect with people when they're real with them." "Real?" Harry repeated, one eyebrow lifting. "I've been real, and all it got me was headlines and armchair psychologists. Maybe I'll spare everyone the performance this time." The words hung in the air like smoke. The audience murmured again. Robin decided to keep moving. "You've spoken before about stepping away from royal duties being an act of protection. For your mental health, for your wife, for your children. Looking back now, do you have any regrets about how public that departure became?" Harry's jaw tightened. "Regrets?" he echoed. "No. I regret trusting institutions that didn't deserve loyalty. I regret staying as long as I did. But leaving, making it clear why? No. If that made some people uncomfortable, that's their problem." George leaned in just enough for the camera to catch him. "Some people say that by talking about it so openly. In the book, in the documentaries, in interviews like this. You've kept the story alive," he said in his measured tone. "They wonder if there's a contradiction between wanting privacy and continuing to share so many details. How do you see that?" Harry turned toward him, eyes narrowing slightly. "I see it as a lazy talking point," he said. "Privacy isn't silence, it's control. I decide what gets shared, not the tabloids, not the palace, and certainly not talk shows recycling the same question." A small ooh rippled from the audience. Michael shifted again, the tension now undeniable. Robin sensed the direction of the conversation sliding. She straightened in her chair. "To be fair," she said calmly, "our viewers are hearing directly from you. That's why we ask. They want to understand your perspective from your own words, not just headlines." "My perspective," Harry said slowly, "has been on display for years. If people still don't get it, I can't fix their comprehension problems." Robin's smile thinned for just a second. She recovered. "Let's talk about your life now," she offered. "You've settled in California, you've started new ventures, you're a father of two. What does a normal day look like for you?" Harry shrugged. "Normal doesn't really exist for me," he said. "But I suppose that's what people like to fantasize about. The prince making breakfast, walking the dog, whatever makes everyone feel better." Michael let out a light chuckle, trying to ease the air. "Hey man, I used to catch passes from quarterbacks for a living, and people still imagine I just sit around watching football," he joked. We all get boxed in a little. Harry didn't return the joke. Yes, but you weren't born into a global spectacle, he replied. You chose your path. I had mine dictated to me from birth. Bit of a difference. Michael's smile faded. Fair point, he said quietly. Robin took back the reins. You've said before that you want to use your platform for mental health advocacy, for veterans, for families dealing with loss, she said. Do you feel you're achieving that more effectively outside the royal structure? Harry looked annoyed by the question itself. Obviously, he said, if you've been paying attention, you'd see the work speaks for itself. I don't need a palace stamp of approval to make a difference. Robin's eyes flickered, but her tone remained steady. We have been paying attention, she answered, and many people admire the work. At the same time, there's criticism. Some say the story always circles back to your family, your grievances. How do you respond to people who feel you're still defined by what you left? Harry leaned forward, his voice edged with irritation now. I respond by saying they're obsessed with the crown, not me. I talk about my life because I lived it. If they hear royal every time I mention pain or trauma, that's their fixation, not mine. Maybe the media should stop dragging my family into everything if they're so tired of hearing about it. This time, the audience's murmur wasn't just surprise. It was discomfort. The room could feel the temperature rising. George glanced at Robin, a subtle, silent question in his eyes. You okay? She gave the smallest nod. She was okay, for now. But she could feel that familiar line approaching, the one between tough interview and needless hostility. Let's bring it back to something specific, she said. Recently, you made comments in another interview suggesting that many people aren't smart enough to understand your decisions. That raised a lot of eyebrows. Do you stand by those words? Harry's lips curled into a faint smirk. Context matters, he said. But yes, I stand by the spirit of it. People prefer fairy tales to complexity. When you don't give them the prince story they want, they call you ungrateful or confused. That's not my issue. If people can't keep up, that's on them. A sharper murmur swept the studio. Someone in the audience exhaled loudly. Michael jumped in, quickly. Harry, you know we've all had people judge us from the outside, he said, voice gentle but firm. Do you ever worry that talking about folks like that might push away people who actually want to understand you? Harry shrugged. If they're so easily pushed away, they were never really listening in the first place. Robin's patience strained just a little more. She took a breath, glanced briefly at the camera, then back at him. We're going to take a quick break, she said smoothly, the professionalism returning to her voice even as her eyes hardened. When we come back, we'll talk about your relationship with your brother, Prince William, and what healing, if any, looks like moving forward. Harry's jaw clenched at the mention of William. Assuming, he muttered just loud enough for her, and the mic, to catch, this is actually about healing, and not just more spectacle. The band played them into commercial, but the air didn't relax. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged wary glances. George rubbed his forehead. Michael let out a slow breath. And Robin Roberts, the woman who had navigated hurricanes, elections, and personal crises in front of millions, sat very still on the couch, eyes calm, spine straight, realizing that this wasn't going to be just another difficult interview. This was heading toward a collision, and they were only at the first break. The moment the cameras cut to commercial, the studio floor changed. Directors whispered loudly into headsets. A producer hurried over to Robin with an apologetic glance, as if silently mouthing, "We're so sorry." George stood and stretched his shoulders, as though shaking off the tension. Michael rubbed his temples, muttering something about needing a stronger coffee. Prince Harry remained seated, legs crossed, arms folded now, staring straight forward as though the room itself annoyed him. Robin didn't complain, didn't sigh, didn't show a crack. She quietly reviewed her next card, even though she already knew every question on it. Harry glanced over at her. If this next segment is more of the same, he said sharply, I might just walk out. Robin didn't even look up. Harry, you're free to walk out anytime you choose. His jaw twitched at her calm tone. Michael stepped forward quickly, hands up. Hey, let's keep this easy, all right? We're just doing an interview. Harry shrugged, unfazed. Depends on who you're interviewing, and whether they're asking things worth answering. George exhaled through his nose. Every question is worth answering if the subject is honest. Harry smirked. Spoken like a man who's made a career out of poking at people. George held his gaze. Spoken like a man who agreed to an interview and is suddenly allergic to interviews. The tension thickened again. A producer's voice cut through the noise. Back in 10 seconds. Everyone, places. Robin took her seat again. George and Michael flanked her. Harry remained opposite them, posture stiff but defiant. The countdown reached 0. The red light blinked on. The warmth of morning television returned in the music, but not in the air. Welcome back to Good Morning America, Robin said, composed as ever. We're here with Prince Harry, continuing our conversation about family, responsibility, and his life outside the royal institution. Harry offered no smile, no acknowledgement. His jaw was tight. Robin continued. Before the break, we touched on a subject many viewers have asked about. Your relationship with your brother, Prince William. Harry's nostrils flared. He shifted, suddenly restless. Robin asked gently but directly, Is reconciliation something you are open to? Harry let out a sharp breath, half scoff, half laugh. That assumes there's anything left to reconcile? The audience murmured. Robin stayed steady. Well, many people saw the two of you grow up together. They watch the bond between you. Some still hope for. Harry cut her off. People project. They imagined a perfect brotherhood because they needed it for their fantasies about the royal family. Doesn't mean it was real. George raised his eyebrows. So, you're saying people imagined your relationship entirely? Harry turned toward him. I'm saying they saw a brand, not a brotherhood. William and I played roles for the cameras, but behind closed doors? Let's just say he wasn't exactly the supportive big brother the world wanted him to be. Robin interjected carefully. But in your own book, you describe moments of closeness. Oh, please, Harry snapped. Do I have to defend every anecdote I've ever said? Memories change. People change. Maybe I was trying to be diplomatic when I wrote that. The audience gasped at the bluntness. Michael shifted in his chair. Harry, he said with a soothing tone, people aren't trying to trap you. They want clarity. Clarity? Harry repeated. I've given clarity for years. If people don't understand, maybe they're not trying hard enough. Robin inhaled slowly and chose to move forward. All right, let's talk about something else that's been widely discussed. Many viewers wrote in asking about your ongoing relationship with the royal institution, the charitable foundations, the public commitments, the traditions you once represented. Do you see any part of yourself still connected to that world? Harry rolled his eyes. There you go again, dragging me back to the monarchy. I said I left. Why does everyone act like I owe them a sentimental montage? Robin remained calm. I'm asking because you've expressed both criticism and nostalgia in different interviews. People are trying to understand where you stand today. Harry leaned forward, tone sharp. I stand wherever I choose. It's not my job to simplify it for the public. Robin tilted her head slightly. It is your job to clarify your own words, Harry, especially when you choose to speak publicly. A few audience members applauded lightly. Harry looked irritated, bothered by even mild approval for Robin. George stepped in gently. I think what Robin means is, when you share your story in multiple versions, people want to know what's most accurate. Harry's voice rose slightly, still not shouting, but cutting, cold. What's accurate is that my life isn't a tidy little season finale that you can summarize in a soundbite. If people can't keep up with nuance, that's on them, not on me. Robin nodded slowly. Let's try something different. She set her cards down, a sign that she was improvising now. What do you want, Harry? She asked plainly. Not the brand, not the PR line. You. What do you actually want from life right now? The studio went silent. Harry scoffed. What kind of question is that? A human one, Robin replied. Harry's voice hardened. What I want is for the world to stop acting like I owe them explanations. Robin calmly pushed again. And yet, you're here, on a morning show. The audience erupted in a wave of soft, ooh sounds. Harry's face stiffened. Well, maybe I shouldn't have come, he muttered. Michael spoke up quickly. Hey, nobody's trying to attack you. We're just talking. Harry glared. That's exactly the problem. You call this talking. I call it interrogation disguised as breakfast television. George's patience thinned. Harry, this is Good Morning America. We ask direct questions. Always. Yeah, Harry said sharply. And maybe I'm tired of being everyone's emotional chew toy. The audience was dead silent now. Robin's professionalism stayed immaculate, but the muscles in her jaw tightened. Harry, she said, calm but firm. Questions aren't attacks. Accountability isn't hostility. And conversation isn't persecution. Harry sneered softly. Easy to say when you're the one holding the cards. Robin leaned in slightly. And impossible to hear if you refuse to listen. The audience gasped again, loudly this time. Harry blinked, stunned by the pushback. George gave Robin a tiny glance, part admiration, part warning. Michael murmured, All right, trying to keep the peace. But Robin wasn't finished, not yet. We're going to take another quick break, she said, never breaking eye contact with Harry. When we come back, we'll talk about accountability, responsibility, and respect. 3 things every guest on this show is expected to show our audience. Harry's lips parted in disbelief. The red light went off. The cameras cut. The music faded. Harry sat back, seething. Robin remained still, composed, stronger now than before. When cameras cut, the tension became physical, hanging in the air like humidity before a storm. A producer rushed in with a bottle of water for Harry, which he waved away with a stiff flick of his hand. Robin didn't look at him. She sat quietly, lips pressed together, reviewing her cards, not because she needed them, but because it kept her hands busy. George leaned close to her chair. You okay? He whispered. Robin nodded once. I won't let him steamroll the audience, not on this show. On Harry's side of the stage, a crew member attempted to adjust his mic. He pulled back sharply. I said don't touch me, Michael noticed, his brow furrowed. We're trying to help you, man. Harry shot him a quick glare, but said nothing. A stage manager called out, Back in 15 seconds. Robin sat taller. Michael cracked his knuckles. George crossed his legs, exhaling slowly. Harry simply rolled his shoulders back, as though preparing for a duel. The red light blinked on. The show resumes. Robin faced the camera with flawless composure. Welcome back to Good Morning America. We're here with Prince Harry, discussing his life, his journey, and his role on the public stage. Harry sat rigidly, staring at Robin with an expression that hovered between impatience and contempt. Robin continued, her tone calm, but with new firmness beneath it. Harry, Millions of people have admired your humanitarian work over the years. They've seen you champion mental health, veterans affairs, and global causes. But many viewers say they're confused by your recent interviews. Your messaging changes depending on where you appear. Some feel you criticize the spotlight, yet seek it at the same time. Harry scoffed openly. That's a simplistic way to frame a complicated life. Robin nodded. Perhaps, which is why I'm asking for clarity. Harry leaned forward, voice clipped. And I'm telling you, I don't owe clarity to everyone with a camera and a mic. The audience murmured. A few people shook their heads. Robin pressed gently but firmly. But you choose interviews, you write memoirs, you sign documentary deals. That invites questions, Harry interrupted. Questions or judgment? Robin held his gaze. Sometimes they overlap. That doesn't make them unfair. He gave a dry laugh. You know what's unfair? Sitting here pretending this is a friendly conversation when clearly you came prepared to grill me. George leaned forward. Harry, this is journalism, not pampering. Harry shot him a look icy enough to freeze steel. No one here asked you to pamper me, George, but at least pretend to be objective. Michael tried to soften the exchange. Look, man, nobody's trying to ambush you. 20 minutes ago, we were all laughing backstage. Harry shrugged. People can pretend all they want. Doesn't make it real. Robin inhaled slowly, steadying herself. All right, she said. Let's move to another topic. A lot of people have asked about your comments regarding the press. Some feel you blame the media for everything that's gone wrong in your life. Do you take any responsibility for the choices you made? Harry's jaw snapped shut. His eyes hardened. That question, he said slowly, is insulting. Robin stayed very calm. Why? Because it suggests I created my own suffering. Robin's voice softened slightly, but the strength remained. I'm suggesting you're human, and humans make choices. Harry scoffed. Well, if you want to oversimplify, sure, but you don't understand the pressure of being born into a prison of expectation. Robin leaned in, tone respectful but unyielding. You're right, I wasn't born into royalty, but I was born into scrutiny and responsibility. And I learned something early. If you want to change the narrative, you don't burn every bridge behind you. The audience gasped. Harry blinked, stunned. You think I burned bridges? Robin's voice remained gentle, but it carried steel beneath it. You torched them, she said, and then complained about the smoke. The audience broke into applause, soft at first, then building until half the studio was clapping. Harry's nostrils flared. So this is how it is? You bring me here just to tear me down and humiliate me? Michael shook his head. Nobody's trying to humiliate you, George added. But you can't insult every question and then act shocked when someone challenges you. Harry glared. Maybe the questions are idiotic. Robin's lips parted slightly, not in anger, but in disappointment. Harry, she said quietly, you don't get to belittle us on our own show. He shifted in his seat, defensive walls rising fast. I'm not belittling you. I'm telling you to ask better questions. Robin sat back, her patience nearly gone now. What exactly would that look like? She asked. You've dismissed questions about your family, your public work, your choices, your marriage, your book, your projects, your expectations, your contradictions. She paused. So tell me, Harry, what can we ask you? The audience fell instantly silent. Harry opened his mouth, then closed it, then tried again. No answer. Robin watched him, eyes calm but resolute. I thought so, she said softly. The studio murmured, a mix of shock and admiration. Harry stiffened, cheeks reddening. He looked like a man who'd just realized he wasn't in control of the room, perhaps for the first time in years. Robin picked up her cards, placing them neatly on her lap. We're going to take one last break, she said, voice steady. And when we return, we'll try, one more time, to continue this interview with respect. She turned directly toward Harry. For everyone's sake, I hope you join us in that. The cameras cut. The red light went off. Music rose. Harry sat frozen, jaw clenched. The break ended with none of the usual backstage warmth. Crew members hovered tensely, exchanging whispers. Michael tapped his foot anxiously. George rubbed his chin, already anticipating disaster. And Robin, silent, composed, adjusted her microphone with the precision of someone preparing for a final confrontation, not an interview. Harry sat stiffly, arms crossed, jaw tight, as if daring anyone to speak to him. A stage manager called out, "Back in 5, 4, 3. The red light blinked on. The final segment begins. Robin faced the camera, her demeanor the definition of professionalism, measured breath, centered tone, a calm that was now unshakable because it had hardened into resolve. Welcome back to Good Morning America. We're here with Prince Harry, she said, articulating his title with careful neutrality. And we're going to continue our conversation, hopefully with clarity and mutual respect. Harry snorted audibly. The audience shifted uncomfortably. Robin turned to him. Harry, before the break, I asked you a simple question. What can we ask you? You didn't answer. So, let's try something different. She folded her hands. Let's talk about your work, purely your work. Millions admire your advocacy. Can you tell us about a project you are genuinely proud of right now? One that has nothing to do with the royal family or past grievances? Harry shrugged lazily. I don't feel like talking about that. Robin blinked. You don't feel like... Harry? We're live. Your problem, he replied bluntly. Not mine. Gasps rippled across the studio. Michael stepped in, voice calm. Come on, man. She's giving you space to talk about something positive. Harry rolled his eyes. Positive? The whole tone of this interview has been negative because she made it negative. George exhaled sharply. That's not fair. Robin has been nothing but respectful. Harry snapped back. Respectful? Maybe in your world. In mine, this is interrogation. Robin, still composed, spoke softly. Harry, asking questions is not hostility. He leaned forward, his tone dripping with irritation. Maybe not, but asking the wrong questions is. Robin nodded once. All right, let's pivot. She shuffled her cards, not because she needed them, but because she needed a moment to steady her voice. You've spoken in the past about mental health. You've encouraged openness, vulnerability, and accountability. Do you believe your behavior here today aligns with those principles? Harry froze, then scoffed. You're twisting the narrative again. I'm being provoked. Robin shook her head calmly. No, Harry. I'm holding you to your own words, he sneered. You're holding me to standards you never hold anyone else to. Robin's eyes hardened. That is not true. Sure it is, Harry muttered. Everyone's always against me. Robin tilted her head. Harry, you're a grown man. At some point, when every interview ends in confrontation, you have to ask. He cut her off sharply. Don't psychoanalyze me. You're not qualified. The audience gasped again. Michael sat up straighter. Whoa, man, that's uncalled for. George added. Robin's one of the most respected journalists in the country. Harry shrugged coldly. Respect is overrated. Robin's face changed then, not anger, but deep disappointment. The kind a teacher feels watching someone waste an opportunity. The kind a host feels when a guest abuses the very platform they were given. She spoke quietly, but the words hit like thunder. Harry, this is not how you speak to people who give you their time, their platform, and their respect. Harry scoffed again. You don't get to lecture me? Robin sat a little straighter. Actually, I do. Silence fell across the entire studio. Robin continued, voice steady but firm. This is our show. This is our staff. This is our audience. And you have disrespected every one of them today. Harry leaned back, unimpressed. Robin kept going, her tone now carrying the authority of someone who had reached her limit. You've interrupted every question. You've belittled our work. You've dismissed our viewers. And you've treated this entire interview as if you're above it. She paused. And above us. Harry smirked. Maybe I am. Robin inhaled sharply, and that was the final spark. She placed her cards on the table with a quiet, deliberate tap. Enough. Harry blinked. Robin repeated louder. Enough. The audience sat frozen, barely breathing. Robin looked Harry dead in the eye. Prince or not, public figure or not, nobody comes on this show and behaves like this. Not to me, not to my colleagues, not to our viewers. Harry's expression faltered, finally recognizing the shift in the room. Robin leaned in. This interview is over. Harry straightened. I didn't say we were done. Robin shook her head. And you don't decide that here. A wave of applause broke out, hesitant at first, then growing, then thunderous. Robin delivered the final line. Prince Harry, you need to leave the set. Harry's jaw dropped for the first time all morning. You're kicking me off? Robin nodded once. Yes. We cannot continue like this. Not today. Michael whispered. Robin, you sure? She answered without looking away from Harry. Yes, I'm sure. Harry rose slowly, fury boiling under his skin. This is unbelievable, he muttered. George answered calmly. No, Harry. This is accountability. Security approached discreetly, but Harry didn't fight them. He ripped off his mic, tossed it onto the base chair, and stormed off stage without another word. The audience erupted in shocked applause. Robin turned back toward the camera, eyes steady, voice composed. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, we apologize for the disruption. Good Morning America stands for respect, dialogue, and truth. Today that standard was challenged, but not broken. She breathed out. We'll be right back. Fade to black. Harry was gone. And daytime television had just witnessed its most explosive exit yet. And that's how it ended. A clash no one expected, but one that viewers will be talking about for years. If this shocking moment kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next explosive interview breakdown. Your thoughts matter. Was Robin right to end the interview, or did things go too far? Drop your opinion in the comments below.